Hello, happy Wednesday. My life is in shambles right now. I really don't know. I mean, I only had one child at the time, but like looking back on actual COVID time frame when daycares were closed, I don't know how I worked. We also didn't have video calls. I think that's the biggest thing. Because right now Taylor and Carson are home so Taylor, as of today, Taylor started having symptoms 2 weeks ago. I got COVID 2 days after that. So she gave it to me. And then Carson decided to wait a whole week to get COVID. So then it just restarted our quarantine.
It's like it's the gift that never stops giving right now.
An awful gift is what it is. And I just get so mad at the Chinese. Why did you create this? Because I am like, poor Taylor has been coughing horribly. She's super congested. Like, I took her to the doctor because I was like, she's only 5 months and this cough that she's having is just so nasty, and it keeps her up at night and in turn keeps me up at night. Nick and I are both trying to work full time while having both children home. Hopefully this is the last week.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Well, and you've had a pretty bad cough too. So
I've been okay, but mine, it just won't go away. Like it's stable, but it's just not getting a whole lot better. My congestion's definitely getting better, but I still have this like chest cough where I'm definitely feel like I'm like coughing stuff up. But the like uncontrollable coughing attacks that I was having last week are definitely done. Those aren't happening anymore. So
yeah, must have been all those supplements that you took.
I know there was a lot. I'm still taking some of them.
Yes. So if you guys haven't seen or if you haven't heard, both of our families got hit with COVID, probably spread it to each other some way, somehow, who knows? But anyways, we have posted a couple of things regarding like all the different natural supplements that we've been taking for COVID prevention. I'm still continuing to take vitamin C, NAC, zinc, things like that, because right now, I mean, we are in
cold season.
Freezing. It was -2 this morning.
Yeah, it was awful. And on our walk, my face hurt. Like Nick and I need to get a humidifier in our house. And we either don't have one right now or it's not working very well, because I bought one of those like humidity trackers. Humidity in the house I think should be like 40%, I think is where you want it at. Ours is like 25%, and my lips are constantly chapped. Like my skin is getting dry. I try to keep both kids, with lotion. Poor Carson's face gets red and he's like, I need medicine, my face hurts. And I think we need to I don't want to spend $1,000 on one, but you know what?
A really strong one.
Yeah.
And I would just put it upstairs, like where all your bedrooms are.
Yeah. So we keep humidifiers in both kids' rooms right now. But yeah, it's just like you can tell the house itself is just dry. So it sucks. Super dry.
I went into Marcus's room the other day, and our windows, they need to be replaced. Some of them are really bad, and his had popped open. And so it was super cold, super drafty. And I was telling Art, I'm like, I think we're going to need to get a ladder and go outside and like try to push it from the outside. He eventually fixed it, but I mean, it is freezing cold.
It's freezing.
And our house has a lot of draft in it. So the only way that we keep the humidity in here well is we have one in our bedroom, one in his bedroom, and they're big. And we have one down here in the basement too. So yes. Yep. Anyways, here's the thing. We're all healthy. We're making it through. It's just one day at a time right now.
It's super fun. So today we wanted to come up with like an extensive list of, if you are not seeing progress, the areas to check the boxes. Like, have a hard conversation with yourself today. Listen to each of these points that we're going to make and really ask yourself if you are if you are in the process of trying to see progress, are you doing these things? Because I think some of them are obvious, but I think some of them are not so obvious. And I think a lot of people think that they're doing everything, but you might be doing enough to maintain. But seeing progress is a whole different story, because progress doesn't come easy sometimes, guys, especially if you've been doing this for a while. So we'll start out with number 1. I think this is probably one of the biggest ones. When your weeks are super restrictive and your weekends are not tracked. Because a lot of people think like, I don't eat as much on the weekends, or I really don't do that bad on the weekends. And then the types of food that they're eating on the weekends is what kills them.
Yeah, or that they're erratically eating. So they're maybe skipping meals, their routine is different, and they think that this one meal out, where maybe it's a little bit more indulgent, isn't that bad. But if they were to truly track it into MyFitnessPal, let's say like a burger and fries, or even a salad at some places, you're looking at upper of 1,200 to 1,500 calories just in that one meal because of the way that the food is prepared in the restaurants. And when we look at this across Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you guys, that's almost half of your week, right? And it's one thing for you to be really, really restrictive Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday. Becca and I have both lived this life before, but you can and will throw away all of your progress if the weekends do not stay consistent. We're not saying you can't go out and enjoy a meal out with your family. That is not what we're saying, but we need to be honest about the foods that we're consuming, the types of foods that, you know, we are choosing when we're at the restaurant. A lot of people go for the convenience factor, right? Like, I'm here and it's convenient, it's fun. Maybe they get caught up in the emotions and this is what the family wanted, so we're just going to roll with the punches. And then they don't realize, oh, wow, that slice of pizza that I had with this salad with chicken and bacon and dried fruit and things like that, that pushed me into that, you know, 1,500 range. And so there has to be a real evaluation of the types of foods that you're consuming, as well as planning and preparing for those times. You can balance this, right? You can even plan to have maybe one higher day a week if you chose to do that with your intake, but that food quality still needs to be a consideration. It's not, we do not believe in the cheat meal mentality where you can go, well, who is it? I'll have to find out who started this. I was listening to a podcast with Cody McBroom and Alan Aragon the other day, and they're talking about if it fits your macros, right? And how everybody took this and spun it to, I can eat donuts or I can fit pizza or whatever. But there was someone also who came up with this idea that for 45 minutes, you could have your free meal and you could eat whatever you wanted.
Just fit it all in. That used to be me. It started with drinking, and then it would be like the wheels fell off the bus and I would consume everything in sight, and it became a problem. Like, I was finishing like entire bags of Chex Mix. It was like, my poor husband, we actually really quick fun story, not funny, but it's funny now in retrospect. So our church posted, we were watching church the other day because we were all sick, but we were watching it on TV, and they were talking about like the 12th of February, we're going to have a wine and paint night. And I go, too bad that we're going to be traveling that weekend. Like, that sounds really fun. He goes, we're never doing that again. Do you remember the last time we did that, Becca? I went through a phase where, like, when I drank, and it drank really fast. And we went to a wine and paint thing, and Nick looked over like an hour into it, and I had finished 2 bottles of wine.
Oh my gosh.
We actually have a picture from that night with us holding our paintings, and you can see in my eyes, like, I am so drunk. And he's like, Becca, we missed our dinner reservations that night. Like, we ended up ordering a pizza that I had to yell at you not to eat in the Uber on the way home because you were so drunk.
Oh, that is so great. That's so great.
But that's what I would do. I would drink a ton, and then I would get drunk, and then I'd eat everything in sight.
And it would probably just hit you really fast.
For sure. It would just hit me. And then, you know, I wouldn't remember any, like, it was a bad period of my life. My poor husband dealt with me during that period. But it was like that whole, I have this night to have as like my cheat meal that I'm not going to track. And it was fit everything into that moment. I probably consumed, 2 bottles of wine and some pizza, 3,000 to 4,000 calories in that sitting alone.
Yeah. Not to mention if you ate other normal meals throughout the day or snacks or things like that. So weekends are really, really important, guys. Again, you can take 7 days, right? Do the math there. 3 out of 7. Yep. That's not a very good ratio. And so if you're planning to go out and you have a social event, we would say eat a little bit lighter through the day, focus on protein, vegetables, hydrate, and then go ahead and track that meal in. Look at the restaurant menu. Look at the calories. A lot of places now have the calories on the menu, or you can easily find them in MyFitnessPal. You guys have probably heard me talk about Cooper's Hawk before. It's one of my favorite places to go. I love their Life Balance ahi tuna. It's gluten-free. It's like 500 calories, but it's got white rice, this Asian slaw, and then amazing portion of ahi tuna. There's probably 7 or 8 ounces of this ahi tuna. So sometimes I don't even finish it all because it is a larger meal. But that compared to that burger and fries, or they have a flatbread and salad combination, that flatbread and salad combination is probably 2,000 calories in and of itself. Yep. And so you just want to look and compare, what the better options are going to be if you continue, or if you want to continue to make progress while still being social and enjoying the weekend.
Yep. Number 2. What?
Go ahead.
I was going to say number 2, you're overeating without realizing it, because even healthy foods can be overconsumed, guys. Like, a lot of times, like Liz just mentioned, we see this with going out to eat, ordering the salad because we think it's the healthier option. But salads with dried fruit, cheese, the tortilla strips or like fried onion strings, a salad dressing, a protein on it that isn't probably cooked in oil, whatever it might be, guys, that stuff adds up fast. Smoothies are another one. Acai bowls. I think acai bowls are probably like one of the top ones that people. I actually had a conversation with a client last week. They were like, I was trying to eat healthy and I picked the acai bowl. I logged it and it's like 100 grams of carbs because it's all sugar that you're taking in. And it isn't like these foods aren't bad foods, a salad, a fruit bowl, whatever it might be, a smoothie, but they add up in terms of how many calories they provide. And especially a lot of times in terms of carbs, like the poke bowls. Is it poke? The poke bowls usually come with like 2 cups of rice. That's like 80 to 90 grams of carbs in a meal alone. And so we need to be aware that even though they are quote unquote healthy foods, some of these foods add up, guys. And we end up being way over our carbs or way over on sugar intake for the day and low on protein, because when you go out to eat, it's usually lower protein than normal. So just because it's a healthy option, if you aren't tracking those things accurately, you might be over consuming calories.
Yeah. And we need to talk about trail mix and nuts and nut butter because we see this a lot, right? Clients think that this is healthy, and it is absolutely healthy for you. There are so many good benefits to a high quality, trail mix. But when you get into, again, the dried fruits, the pieces of chocolate, now you're racking up carbohydrates, not just protein and fat. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot more of now is all of these different nut butters that have a lot of other things added to them.
Yep.
So there's more carbohydrates coming in with that naturally. And so you need to weigh and measure those things because they're very, very dense. A tablespoon of nut butter is 100 calories on its own. Add that into, let's say, chocolate chips in it or chia seeds or other things that people are, putting in. I believe it's the American Dream Nut Butter Company, which I hear amazing things and they all look fantastic. But now we've taken a health food and we've turned it into a not so healthy food, right? And so just very easy to overconsume those things. So weigh out and measure some of those very dense products. The third thing is you are not moving enough. So fun fact, because we love fun facts, the average person only gets 4,500 steps per day. I will say I have a couple of clients that get less than this per day. And I understand it's cold. Becca and I just got back in from a 20-minute walk in the 12-degree blowing winter here in Chicago. But if you want to get your steps up and that's important to you because you want to see progress, bundle up, get outside, break up your walks, be intentional with your movement. If you're working from home, we work from home. We know a lot of people have shifted to working from home the last couple of years with COVID. Plan and schedule your walks in, put it on your calendar over your lunch period. The best thing you can do as well to support blood sugar levels and energy levels and digestion is to take a 10 to 15 minute walk after your main meals. So if you're not counting your steps, we would highly encourage doing that because it's a very, very easy lever that you can pull. It is not something that your body is adaptive to. So we've talked about this before on the podcast. When you are running and you're getting better and more efficient at running, you're now burning less calories doing the same length of the run as you were when you first started. Walking is not that way. You are going to continue to burn calories as you continue to increase your step count. So this is a lever, and this is one that I have pulled in my cut phases, 12,000, 14,000 steps, because honestly, 10 to 11 is my baseline.
Yep. So I'm the same way. And I think because of COVID, this is one of the things that a lot of people have not acknowledged is that, like, you guys, when you would go into the office, walking to and from your car, walking to and from meetings, like, there's a lot of steps that can happen in that place, especially if you live in, or if you work in a big office building. You could be getting 2,000 to 5,000 steps in a day. Now we're at home, we walk downstairs to our home office, and that's it, to the kitchen. Like, we get way less movement when we aren't doing that in a day. And I think a lot of people didn't account for that. And in turn, we saw a huge uptick in people's weights. What's scariest to me is children's weights during COVID it's astonishing. Like, we now outnumber healthy weighted children with obese children, which is just really sad. Anyways, next one, number 4, calories are too low and you've entered into kind of a storage place with your metabolic function. So there is such a thing as too big of a caloric deficit. calorie deficits are kind of a sweet spot that you need to find, as our maintenance ranges. A lot of times our maintenance is a range of say 1,800 to 2,200 calories. Your calorie deficit might be a range, but we don't want to be too low in a calorie deficit because it gets to a place where we tip the scale from the body, it being a stress to where the body is responding with weight loss compared to a stress where the body is now conserving because it's too much of a stress. Our body has basic needs. It has daily energy expenditure that needs to be put towards controlling your brain function, your heart function, your lung function, basically all of our organ function, maintaining muscle mass. And so when the body isn't even getting enough to do those things, it's going to slow down and sometimes shut down other functions to conserve energy. And so one of those functions is burning body fat. And so we need to find that sweet spot, because if you're trying to lose weight at 800 to 1,000 calories a day, maybe initially you might lose weight doing that if your body isn't too stressed, but very quickly your body is going to see that as a threat and it's going to start holding on to weight. And so we need to be smart about the calorie deficit that we are in.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a question here and we'll see how you answer this. So Becca, I have been tracking my calories and I'm doing about 1,400 calories during the week. On the weekends, I'm a little bit higher because I have a really busy social life. If my weekly average deficit is in that sweet spot, is that something that's going to work for me long term?
For you, it depends, because some people, I will say, can do this. Not very many people, because a lot of people actually are consuming more on the weekends than they think that they are. And so it pulls them into a maintenance. And there's a lot of inflammation typically that happens from those foods on the weekends. So if they're drinking, if they're eating fried food, stuff like that, it breaks down to actually being beyond just a calorie in, calorie out thing. And now you're dealing with inflammation that people deal with. So it depends. I will say some people can successfully do that, but it tends to gravitate towards a poor relationship with food, restricting and then binging, and all of those things that we don't want to see.
Yes.